Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Wednesday morning, Bitcoin is at it again, breaking through $68,000 US this morning. The miners once again are off to the races here, you guys, with green across the board in the sector. Anthony Power and I are going to be discussing market movers and a number of key updates from the Bitcoin miners in today's video. Before we do though, take a second, smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel. Anthony loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below how you're feeling about the mining sector overall, your price target on Bitcoin for the last few months of the year, and where you currently rank in our Miner Madness Q4 trading competition. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Wednesday morning, very similar to what we saw on Monday and Tuesday. Lucky for the Bitcoin mining investors, Anthony. Another green day across the board. Bitcoin broke through $68,000 this morning. We then saw our traditional morning pullback in trading. However, the Bitcoin miners have crept up quite nicely here, which we're going to come on to in a second. And in addition to that, some great news and updates that we wanted to talk about in today's video. How are you doing this morning, Anthony?
Doing well, thanks. Yeah, another good day for Bitcoin and good day for most of the mining stocks.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're both quite excited this morning. We have Sam Tabar coming on in a few hours' time. We're going to be talking about that major HPC or vertical integration announcement. A lot of questions that we actually sourced from the audience. So that's going to be a great discussion. Before we do, though, Anthony, let's do our mid-morning market update. We've got a few double-digit movers already in the first hour of trading here. Nice to see some of the smaller miners actually gaining ground or catching up to the pack here. So Gryphon and Soluna heading out the herd today, both double-digit movers. What are you seeing so far in trading this morning?
Seen a nice uptick in Soluna, but we know being one of the smallest miners, it has got a little bit of volatility to it. We've talked many times about the type of projects they do. They're a small mining company, probably market cap's heading towards 40 million now, but some of the projects they're delivering, in that 30, 40, 50 million range. And they've got a couple of larger projects that they're about to go to the market with as well to get funding for. So certainly delivers on projects, but the volatility is there. It can swing as high as up 20% and down 20% in a day. So not one to look at, but be aware of the volatility. But yeah, good all-round company.
Yeah, most definitely. It's nice to see the miners gaining some steam in relation to the other proxies. We've talked both days this week, Anthony, about the miners in comparison to MicroStrategy. Again, outpacing MicroStrategy in today's trading. Now, 2 interesting graphs I wanted to bring up. Obviously, a lot of the buying pressure coming from the ETFs. We've talked about this extensively on the channel. We've also talked about the game theory, herd mentality, or FOMO that starts to take place as you see these compounding green days. People are telling their friends, hey, I just bought shares of IBIT or whatever ETF. I'm already up 10%, so on and so forth. So, Anthony, the next slide here from HODL 15 Capital, it talks about ETF demand on the 15th. So yesterday, Tuesday, October 15th, again, daily production, 450 coins, assuming those all get sold, which we know they don't. And demand yesterday alone, Anthony, 5,676 coins. I see you smiling over there for good reason. Walk us through what this means in terms of supply and demand.
Effectively, there's just not enough coins out there for these ETFs to really buy. We know at least 50% of all coins are held and are not moving anywhere, so they're not going to be sold. You've got the mining companies, you quite rightly say they're mining 450 Bitcoin a day. Sounds a lot, but when these ETFs go in there and purchase 14,000 on Monday and Tuesday, that's a lot. That's 33 days of production. So it's a big It's a big amount of Bitcoin, and this is this is sort of like the catalyst we're looking for. This wasn't happening in previous cycles. You can see the total bought by the US ETFs just this year since the 10th of January when they launched. 325,000 Bitcoin been purchased this year. That's a sizable amount. That's effectively 1.5% of the whole of Bitcoin when it fulfills at 21 million. So, already in the first 8 to 9 months, 1.5% of all Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor, he's got a company that has the largest amount for a public company. They've got in the region of heading towards, I think, 250,000 Bitcoin. And if you listen to him about where he thinks you should be putting some of your net worth, he's pretty much all in on Bitcoin, and he'll turn around and say to you, "What interesting if you say, well, I'll put in a few percent of my net worth in Bitcoin. Therefore, if I lose it, I've still got 98%." And he'll argue back to you saying, "Well, if you're putting 2% of your net worth in Bitcoin, that means you must have 50 other ideas for the other 98%." Because if you're only putting 2% in Bitcoin, that means you've got 49 other options to do with the other 2%. And so he's pretty much all in. He's been actually selling shares and raising capital and buying more Bitcoin for himself as well. So he sees this as a very, very long term. And if you ever feel, I said before, you're ever feeling down in the dumps about Bitcoin, just stick on a Michael Saylor video and you'll spark back into life after 40 minutes.
Yeah, you certainly will. So 250,000 coins, Anthony. If my math is correct, every $1,000 Bitcoin moves, that equates to 250 million for MicroStrategy. Now take that down by a factor of 10. Marathon has 27,000 coins. So they're moving about 26 to 27 million per $1,000 movement in Bitcoin. And it sounds like they may actually be purchasing some more. We'll come on to that in a second. But Anthony, you brought up a good question. For everyone buying these Bitcoin, there has to be a seller. And you and I have scratched our heads quite a number of times wondering who's selling right now. We even talked to Adam Back, who's one of the OGs in the space, about this very same topic. This table here really does a great job illustrating exactly what quartiles are selling. And as you'll see, again, a HODL 15 capital chart, you guys give this guy a follow. Fantastic data. As you'll see on here, Anthony, every single segment other than the whales that are considered 100 plus Bitcoin in an address have been net sellers this year. The whales, the 100 plus accounts, have just continued to accumulate.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're in it for the long term. They see the bigger picture. People who've bought fractions of Bitcoin there will treat it as like buying a share on the market. And, when it rises, they may take a profit. When it loses, they may have a stop loss in mind and sell the Bitcoin. But I'm in that sort of like second from the top line there between 1 and 10 Bitcoin. And I've not sold any since I've purchased my first amount. And I've probably added, 7 or 8, 9 purchases to my wallet since I first started, and I've never even thought about selling it yet. So, but it's, as I say, for me, it's a fairly small amount. I mean, I probably need to switch on Michael Saylor and maybe think about increasing it. If he's that conviction's there, maybe I should join him. He's certainly got the right answer up to now.
He certainly does. It's one of those things, Anthony. We're going to look back. We're going to say, why didn't we put more money into it? I know in my gut, it's moving in the right direction, but you're right. It's hard to wrap your head around allocating that percentage of your net worth to this new asset class. Now, speaking of allocating money towards Bitcoin, we got a big headline out from Marathon or Mara. We were actually fortunate enough to talk to a few of the members of the team. One was on my panel in Amsterdam. Making some big moves here. So another $200 million raise, Anthony. The suspicion would be this goes towards purchasing Bitcoin. Fred Thiel has already vocalized that he's adopted the Michael Saylor approach. They want to get as much Bitcoin on balance sheet as possible. Interestingly enough, this is kind of controversial among some of the other mining CEOs we've talked to, saying, hey, if you need to go purchase it, what business do you have mining it? But again, to each their own, and another big move from the team at Mara.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a line of credit, so it's there to be used as and when. So there's no reason they've used it already. They've got a significant amount of HODL where they can cover that amount with pretty much ease. I mean, their HODL significant, probably $1.5 billion now in terms of valuation. So that's not an issue there. What will be interesting to know is how they're going to utilize it when they say for strategic opportunities and other general corporate purposes. We know they've been hodling everything they've been mining, so they've had to pay the operating costs and their energy effectively out of the cash they've received through ATMs. So again, this might be there to support some of that while they focus on hodling the Bitcoin. For me personally, I'd focus on Marathon trying to get the lowest cost to mine a Bitcoin. They're certainly not getting the same level of cost as some of their peer miners, nowhere near. And it'll be interesting to see this latest quarterly update when it comes out in November as to are they still paying significant amounts in terms of other costs and energy prices for their mining? They will benefit a little bit from the fact they've got over 26,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and the price of Bitcoin at the end of quarter two has slightly increased by the end of Q3. So there's a little bit of an unrealized profit or unrealized gain, which will go on to the actual income statement. So they'll have a little positive bit there, but whether that's sufficient enough to outweigh the things like depreciation and their stock compensation that has been significant for I think they've already issued like 80 million of stock compensation in 2024, and we've still got 1 quarter to go.
Yeah, we certainly do. That'll be one to watch here as things progress into the final few months of the year. You mentioned in yesterday's podcast, Anthony, CleanSpark really vying for that top spot in the industry. We've got a few of these tier one miners, as we call them, really jockeying for those top positions as we end out 2024. Now, another top miner we've had the pleasure of discussing quite a bit this year is Bitfarms. We got a great video out from their Paraguay facility, basically talking about some of the additions or modifications that Ben and team have made to this data center. This one talks about the water-cooled M53S Plus miners. Now, water-cooled miners, as opposed to immersion, are direct-to-chip cooling. We've started to hear a lot of the CEOs talking about this, not only in the mining application, but also on the HPC side of things. Ben talking about in this specific example, these 8 hydrominer containers hashing with unparalleled uptime is the words he uses. Plus, we got a nice little flyby video. So another great development here, Anthony, but again, starting to get up against the clock in terms of their hash rate goals and number of months left in the year.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of messages about Bitfarms in recent weeks as to why the share price hasn't been performing as well as peer miners. I mean, they've even turned around and said they're interested in looking at HPC. They've got these the sites. They're going to be buying Stronghold Digital Mining in the first quarter of 2025. They're moving miners to Stronghold, but this month to increase the hash rate. But we wanted to see that 12 a bit quicker than we're going to see it. We'll probably see it by the end of this month. But you look at the other miners, and some of them miners have been issuing their updates ahead of schedule. So IREN reached their target mid-year and Q3 ahead of schedule. CleanSpark have met their targets this year ahead of schedule and actually increased their target for the end of the year recently to 37. So Bitfarms, I think when we had a chat a few months ago about who we felt was going to maybe struggle to reach their target, I think we boiled it down to maybe Bitfarms and possibly Marathon. And those are the two that appear to have a lot of work to do in the last sort of 10 weeks to get to their targets. Marathon's still got about best part 13, 14 exahash. Now, for them, it's slightly less of an issue. They can just go in and replace the older miners with the more up-to-date models, and that's pretty much a pick and replace process. For Bitfarms itself, I mean, they're developing this site in Paraguay, which is going to be, 6 to 8 exahash. I think originally it was 8 exahash, but they're moving 2 of that across the Stronghold mining facilities. So whether they continue, I'd imagine they will continue if they've got the ability to grow that, and then they can add units to that next year and grow from 21. So that the race is on to get that site completed. This is a sort of a good update to show what's happening there. It looks a site with decent infrastructure there. Bitfarms know what they're doing in terms of productivity. No one can really touch them apart from Hive Digital, so we're not going to accuse them anything other than they do a good job monthly. But we look at these hash rate targets, and we said at the start of the year when miners started coming out with some really ambitious targets, they'd be held to those targets. And it looks like maybe the market is holding Bitfarms to those targets and saying, come on, where's the 12 coming from? And actually, how confident are you now of getting to 21? So Ben does a great podcast. I don't think there's anyone else can articulate Bitcoin mining like Ben can in the whole space. Really, I don't see anybody else that can do it as good as him. But we just need now them to start delivering, because the share price is sort of like, held now in the 180, 190. The issue with Riot coming after the company is now sort of like it's settled down. There's an agreement not to really do anything now until 2026. That gives both companies time to focus on what they're doing themselves, and if they want to revisit it, they've got opportunity to do that in a more amicable fashion. So I don't know. Maybe if Riot are selling shares in Bitfarms, I think they'd have to notify the markets that they're reducing their stake. So I've not seen any updates on that there. So I'm just bewildered as to why the share price is where it is at the moment. But my only thought is it's down to the targets.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Anthony, hitting the nail on the head with that one. Now, interesting you bring up start of the year, we talked about the expansion plans. We had said the single site miners, being Riot and Iron, had a better chance of achieving their goals just due to the simplicity, the ability to replicate, use the same workforce. We're starting to see that thesis come true. In terms of communication, one of the best in the industry is Iron, Anthony. They've now come out with another update. So not only is monthly updates great in this industry, we're now getting updates every few weeks in terms of operational progress that's being made. Iron came out with a laundry list today. Can you give us some of the highlights that we're seeing as of the 16th of October from Iron? Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today.
Yeah, no, a good update today. They talked about they're bringing in some of these new H200 machines, so 1080 NVIDIA H200 GPUs in Q4. So what that's going to do is it's going to double its existing capacity. So this is the first of the sort of like the miners who are in the HPC space to go out there and physically purchase H200s. Most of the miners, like Hut, like Hive, like Digital, at the moment have the H100. So Iron are pretty much going in there. This will potentially give them a annualized revenue of about 32 million by the end of the year. And if you compare that to their Bitcoin mining earnings, that's going to represent probably about 10%. So, it's a good platform to move from. And if you look at in terms of the actual amount they're using for GPUs, it's a very, very small amount of their total power that the company uses across all its sites at the moment. So it's not anywhere near eating into that. So there's plenty of potential. The other big announcement was the actual the 1.4 gigawatt data center has now been given an accelerated timeline. This is the Texas data center is been brought forward from October 2026 to April 2026. And the reason they can do this is they've actually arranged all their sort of like EPC and their substation infrastructure. So, the ongoing work and design of this is ongoing there, but they've managed to, to cut 6 months out of their project plan. And that'll give them a great opportunity to determine whether they put sort of HPC or Bitcoin mining into that facility. But they're sort of already thinking ahead of where they're going to put miners or HPC GPUs post the completion of Childress. So we know Childress has got 750 megawatts as a total capacity. A sizable amount of that, about 500 megawatts of that, will be utilized by the end of the year. And then they'll carry on completing the outfit of Childress in the first part of 2025, where they've got targets going up to 40 exahash, I think by the end of the first quarter. So that will continue. But then as that one fills, they've now got another site that's going to come online, in literally the next sort of 18 months. So by bringing this update out today, it tends to put a little bit more color to the plans now. We can start sort of like understanding what they're trying to do. They've also managed to increase the land expansion there, so they've secured an extra 800 acres of land, and that'll be added to the existing 500 acres. So they've got a total of 1,300 acres of land for their services. So. And as I say, this site can be, used for Bitcoin mining or HPC. And, as the price is going at the moment, who knows? I was doing some calculations this morning, Bryce. Somebody asked me on social media, obviously with the likes of CleanSpark growing and the price of Bitcoin rising, where would it start flipping? And I did a sort of a calculation based on, Bitcoin reaching $100,000. So if you look at the price of Bitcoin reaching $100,000 and you look at CleanSpark achieving their 37 exahash by the end of the year, and the global hash rate being in the region of about 700 exahash, that will give CleanSpark something like 5.2% of the global network. So if you look at the daily mining of 450 Bitcoin, take 5.2% of that, gives you between 23, 24 Bitcoin at $100,000. That gives you a daily revenue of about $2.3 million. Let's use 23. Let's use a lower one, be a bit more prudent. If they can mine Bitcoin with energy and their other costs for about $50,000 a coin, that gives them a daily profit of about $1.1 million. And that's close to what the Core Scientific deal brings in with CoreWeave. So, that 100,000 Bitcoin isn't too far away with the way Bitcoin price is rising at the moment. We're into a sort of like, hopefully going into this bull cycle now. It does start, making you think about when's the sort of like this flipping going to occur. The miners have all sort of like focusing on HPC. At what price do they start then refocusing and delivering Bitcoin mining? And at the moment, we've only got CleanSpark as effectively what we call the sort of like the pure play miner. I mean, Riot have indicated they'll look at HPC. Marathon have certainly indicated that they've already sort of looking at projects now, pilot projects to deliver it. Bitfarms have already indicated it. Literally every other miner's either doing something in HPC or certainly planning to. CleanSpark have been pretty much, against the idea. They feel that Bitcoin's got the momentum. Michael Saylor was certainly on that side there. He's very bullish. He expects, Bitcoin to get to $13 million a coin. And if it gets to that price, my $100,000 per coin calculation is just a waste of time.
Yeah, well, at least it gives, as you say, some good color to the optics here. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly a lot of these companies that have just recently started to navigate HPC maybe reverse that decision or go back and focus on the pure play mining. definitely a big bet from CleanSpark that Bitcoin would recover here in a big way, putting all their eggs in one basket as the only pure play miner. But it seems that may pay off, Anthony, if Bitcoin continues to rally. The big difference for me in your example there is the CoreWeave deal is for 12 years. This cycle, who knows how long or how high it can go. So really it's do you want the consistent, smoothed out linear revenue like maybe the Wall Street analysts are more used to, or do you prefer the volatility like the true Bitcoin mining retail audience? So a lot to consider, you guys. Again, make sure you go onto the website, check out the Miner Madness competition. We just received a great box from CIFR Mining. We've got CleanSpark swag on the way. We're getting put together some great sweepstakes winning boxes here. So make sure you log in and check that out. Let us know in the comment section below where you rank in the competition.
And just to give you a very, very, 60-second update on the competition at the moment, if we're looking at miners from the 1st of October to today's date, here's a rundown of the top 5 performing miners in that competition at the moment. CleanSpark at 27.4%. We've got Soluna at 22.4%. We've got Riot at 22%. We've got CIFR at 20.7%. And Core Scientific at 12.8%. What does that mean for the ranking at the moment? Well, we have Brian Lucassen, who's leading the competition as at today. He had CleanSpark as first choice, Riot as second, and CIFR third. So he had a sort of a clean sweep of stocks there. His gain is $73. So that represents nearly 24.5% in terms of return in the last 16 days. He's ranked first there. The interesting fact now is in terms of the number of people who haven't their choices haven't made a positive is really just down to 7. So we've only got 7 people in the competition who are actually below the $300. And actually, if you look at some of the companies in that choices there, I'll just say, I won't say names, but if you'd have selected Bitfarms, IREN, and TeraWulf, which, to be honest, before the competition, 3 well-placed companies, 3 popular companies. Bitfarms was the 3rd most popular. IREN was the 1st. And TeraWulf, because of that HPC pending contract, would have been well up there as well. You'd have actually been down just over $1.10 by choosing those 3 in that order. So this is going to be an interesting competition. It's day 16, so we've still got another 10 weeks to go. But I just thought I'd bring in a 60-second update of where we are. In terms of the analysts, Bryce, you're still ahead, but we've got A-Trade coming through now. Sebastian, by Sam, myself, 3x40, Bitcoin Bella, Bitcoin Mining Guy, and DR Lewis is coming up the rear there. But actually, all those positions there, majority of those have been improving over the last day or so. Those changes will happen, as each day goes by. We'll see more news stories through, and it'll change. But it's grabbed the attention there. We've had a lot of people going to the website. The numbers are going through the roof there. You can check out where you're on the tables. There's a search engine to do that. Put your data in the search and you'll find out where you are. See how the analysts are doing as well. See how many of you have beaten the analysts. I would imagine looking at the table there, quite a few of you are in a happy position at the moment. But as I say, early days and a long way to go.
Yeah, really incredible to see some of the gains in just 2 weeks worth of trading, and obviously picked the right quarter to start up Miner Madness, Anthony. Q4 2024, blockbuster so far. So Anthony's right. Go and use the search feature. Let us know where you're ranked. We're going to get those gift boxes together. Feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, you guys. Leave a comment below. We'll see you here in a few hours with Sam Tabar and the big news from Bit Digital.